Hi, in this video we're going to be looking at how to draw this beautiful goldfish. For this video you're going to need a piece of paper, your pencil, oil pastels, and some blue food colouring as well as a paintbrush. Let's get started. Now to draw our fish we're going to use some circles to help us space it out. You can see the top of the fish, there's a fin, so we need to leave a bit of space for that. So I'm going to come down about 2/3 of the way down my page, and I'm going to draw a big circle that's going to help us draw the fish's body. Now the circle is not going to be in the middle of the page, it's going to be slightly to the right hand side of the page. You can draw this circle really lightly. I'm making mine a bit darker so that it's easy for you to see. Now we can use this to help us draw the fish's body. In front of it, about at the center of the circle, I want you to make a little dot, and this is where we're going to start the fish's mouth. Okay, I'm going to switch to a felt tip pen now that I've drawn my circle, just to make it clearer to you. So about halfway down the circle, I'm going to start with the mouth and follow the curve of the circle. And once I've gotten about 2/3 of the way up my circle, I'm going to move away from the circle and curve up. Now we're going to do the top of the fish. So again, I'm going to start here where the mouth was, join the circle, follow the curve of the circle, and then we're just going to let this arc go all the way back down until we get to just above where we ended our bottom line. Okay, so we have the body of our fish now. The fish's eye is going to be here. You can use the circle to help you. And that's also just going to be quite a large circle. So I've drawn his eye. This is quite a large circle, and I've drawn a slightly smaller circle inside of it. Now we can draw the fin at the top of his body. From where your eye is, take your pencil or your Koki up. Just draw a line going up as if it was a C. And then where the end of your circle is, take your Koki up and draw a line going out on that side. So this gives us the start and the finish of his top fin. Now don't just draw a straight line to join these two together. Make it like a wavy line, and you can add some wavy patterns on the inside of it to make it look really floaty and dreamy. So if you just draw straight lines, it looks really stiff and hard, but the floaty lines make it look like he's just sailing through the water. For the fins that are at the bottom, we're going to use circles again. So inside the bottom of our circle here, we're going to draw another circle that's about the size of the eye. And then behind it, or on the outside of the circle, just below it, we're going to make another circle. And these two circles are going to help us draw these two fins. So you're going to start at the top of the circle, follow the curve of it, and then come in. And it's almost like a flattened out S shape that I've made. Then we're going to go on the other side, follow the curve of the circle, and come in and join it. And then the second one is going to be the fin that's on the far side. So we're just seeing a small section of it go around the top of your circle, come in towards your first fin, and then just let it finish at a slightly different angle, put it out to the right. Right, now we're going to start with our fish's tail. So we're going to start with the top of his tail, and this is just like a big C that's been flattened out. You must come all the way around, bring it down almost to the bottom of the page. And from there you're going to make another C, or it could be an upside down U shape. And bring that slightly lower, and I'm just making a little circle at the end of this line. Now what we're going to do is from the base of the tail, we're going to draw a line curving down to join with this line that we finished here, and it's going to be in an S shape. So it's going to come round, just picture yourself drawing an S, and it's joined onto this line that we drew earlier. We are going to just make his tail a little bit fuller, so I'm going to make a small section of the tail coming out in an S shape again, and then do a C shape back to the tail. So I did an S out to here, and then I did a C back to the tail. Okay, we can make a C out the middle of the tail here. Again, we can draw a little circle at the end of that. And then I'm going to draw a C going in the other direction, almost meeting that one. And we can join these two together. Now, in the same way that we added lines to the fin at the top, we're going to add some lines to this tail. So just follow the shape of the tail and end the line on this bottom line here. You can add 3 or 4 of these lines. Until you've filled the tail, really. I'm going to add another one onto this section here. Right, so now we've drawn the basics of our fish, we can start colouring it in. I'm going to be using pastels to colour mine in, but you're welcome to use pencil crayons or shade it in, whatever you would like. Right, so I'm making my fish orange, and to make a finished orange fish, I'm going to be using red for my darker shading, orange for the middle shading, and a little bit of yellow for those really light parts of it. Orange, yellow and red are on the same colour family, so they blend in together really well. When you're trying to practice blending pastels, it's really good to pick colours that are in the same family because it makes it much easier, especially in the beginning when you're still trying to figure it out. So what I'm going to do is start with my red and do the dark shading. So the bottom of the fish's belly is probably going to be the darkest part of it, and I'm going to do a nice dark red line along the bottom. It should get thinner as you get to the mouth, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of light red shading. So where you've pressed hard with the pastel, it's not going to blend easily, but where you've pressed lighter, you've left room for another colour to join in. Just going to add some curved red lines going up the side of the fish, and these lines make the fish look more three-dimensional. So because it's a curved line, it makes them look rounded and fatter. So the lines that we use to colour can also make an object look more realistic. It's not just about colouring in a straight line. Okay, I'm just going to add a tiny bit of red at the top of the fish. And then I'm going to move on to my orange. Now I've got a little broken piece of orange, and that works really nicely when you're blending colours together. In this example, I left a lot of white, and then we painted it with yellow food colouring, and the yellow food colouring left all the little white bits, filled them all in. So this picture is going to turn out slightly differently because I'm colouring it in with pastels. Okay, what I'm doing now is adding some light orange shading so that the yellow can blend into it. I'm also going to do a little bit of a dark shading around the eye to make the eye pop or stand out. Pop is just a way of making it stand out. Okay, then we go along the top. So you can see this little section here is going to be the lightest part of the fish. Okay. And then finally I'm going to take my yellow, my lightest colour. And I'm just pressing hard and colouring over all of my shading. I'm letting the yellow fill in all those little white spots that were there. Right, we're going to do the top and bottom fins now. So again, I'm just starting with a little bit of red at the bottom, some dark colouring, lighter colouring, moving on to my orange, so I'm doing some dark lines and some lighter lines. Okay, and I've left a section at the top to be yellow. And then I'm just colouring over all of my shading with the yellow. Right, so we're going to add a little bit of shading to the bottom. Just drawing a couple of red lines, a couple of orange lines. Pressing hard and then filling in the white with the yellow. Okay, for the tail again, just follow the pencil lines that you drew earlier. So a couple of your red lines going down, maybe a bit of shadow in this section. Then take your orange, do a couple of lines going down. Do some of these lines a little bit lighter, so you can see I've pressed really hard there and I've pressed quite lightly here. That's just going to help us get different shades of the orange and red and yellow. Okay, and now I'm taking my yellow pastel, just colouring over all of this. These colours just blend so easily, it makes it really easy for you to work with different colours and making them match together. Right, now we're going to use a blue pastel to outline this, and that is because blue and orange are complementary colours. This means they're opposite each other on the colour wheel, and they are colours that will look really good next to each other. So you don't always have to outline everything in black. Sometimes you could be a little bit bold and choose a complementary colour. So I'm just doing the fish's eye. What I've done is I outlined my inside circle, and then I coloured a circle on the left hand side, and I've left just a little bit of white in the eye. Going around this next one. It's really important that you do this outlining after you've coloured in the fish. If you outline it in blue before, then when you're colouring it in, you're going to pull bits of blue into the orange. And although blue and orange look really nice next to each other, they do not look nice mixed together. They create like a black-brown colour. So if you are going to outline it in black or blue, you should wait until you've finished. I'm also outlining some of the swirling patterns in the fin and the tail in the blue, just to make it pop a bit more. I'm pressing really hard with the pastel while I do this, so I get a nice solid strong colour. If you don't press hard, it's going to look a little bit wishy-washy. Right, in this picture I used my 2 greens and the blue just to add some seaweed and water to the background. I chose green and blue because green and red are complementary colours and blue and orange are complementary colours. So they're going to make the fish really stand out. Right, now to make people think of seaweed and swishing water in the background, we're going to do lots of big curving lines, very similar to the lines that we've used on the fish's tail. So I'm just going to start with a nice hard dark line going down. You could also end off some of your lines in the same way that we ended the fish's tail. So you could just add a little curl or kick to the end of it, or let it curl out. Okay, so I've added 3 or 4 of these blue lines. If you have a broken bit of pastel, that will work quite well for this. So we've pressed really hard with the blue, but we also want to have some lighter lines. If we just have lots of hard lines in the background, they're all going to fight against each other and the background will look too busy. So having some of these lighter lines will help tie the picture together and make sure that the background looks really good. If you don't have a broken piece of green, you can just press lightly with your green. So my dark green isn't broken, so I'm just going to be pressing lightly with it. Again, you could do some of those curling lines. And now what you could do to finish off this picture is just take a bit of blue food colouring and mix it with water, just paint it over the whole background, and it will give you a finish like this. Because the food colouring is water-based and the pastels are oil, they're not going to stick together, so your fish is not going to get the blue paint on it, only the background that you have left white will go blue. You just need to be careful of this little white section around the eye. Right, what I've got here is just some water and food colouring mixed together, about half-half. So the more food colouring you have, the darker the colour will be, and the more water you add, the easier it is to spread the paint. And what we're going to do is just brush it over the background, and you can see how where there's oil pastels, the water is almost separating or splitting away. So it doesn't matter, like there I went over the front of his nose, but it just wipes off. So you can get a really neat finish with this, even if you're not very good with a paintbrush. And there we have our beautiful orange fish. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, and if this is your first Get Started video, subscribe to our channel. We put up awesome videos every week. If you have any questions about how to draw this fish picture or blending with pastels, please leave them in the comment section below.